Hello, hello, hello. I'm just Yvonne, your book bae, coming on with a quick review today. I hope this video finds you well. So it's not, I guess, a true book review on one particular book, but an update on what I have been reading. So last week I did an update on Fearless and Free by Josephine Baker. I did complete this book. I really enjoyed it, but I know that there will be people that probably will not due to the writing style. Now, it started off to me kind of slow. It didn't really get or pick up the pace until toward the end. The writing was very conversational, like I said previously, as if someone was asking her a question and she was just answering. And then sometimes it was just as if a thought came to her and she added the information to the book. So it didn't always flow to me. But overall, since I was interested in learning about her and how she contributed to the civil rights and her moving to France and just her life story, since she seemed to be such a positive individual, for me it was good, but it was a slow read, to be completely honest. And I think I haven't looked at any other reviews on the book, but I can see how people can put the book down and not come back to it due to how the book flows. And yeah, that's it. But I did enjoy the book. It just took me a little longer to get through the book than I thought I would have, and I think it was because of the writing style. So on to the next book I have been reading. It is Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. I think I briefly touched on this book back in January. I never got around to reading it because I added some other books in there, but I still had it on my list of books to read because I bought this during the pandemic, actually, when it initially came out, and then I just never got around to reading it because it was very hectic those years. I thought I would have more time because we were at home, but I did not. I was working and teaching. So anyway, so far the book is really, really great. Let me read you a couple of blurbs from the back. On here it says, New York Times, her closeness with and profound affection for her subjects reflect her deep immersion in their stories and allow the reader to share that connection. And then the Wall Street Journal says, Wilkerson combines impressive research with great narrative and literary power. She humanizes history, giving it emotional and psychological depth. So let me give you a little bit or the synopsis so you know what the book is about. So here it says, in this brilliant book, Isabel Wilkerson gives us a masterful portrait of an unseen phenomenon in America as she explores through an immersive, deeply researched narrative and stories about real people how America today and throughout its history has been shaped by a hidden caste system, a rigid hierarchy of human rankings. Beyond race, class, or other factors, a powerful caste system influences people's lives and behavior and the nation's fate. Linking the caste systems of America to India and Nazi Germany, Wilkerson explores 8 pillars that underlie caste systems across civilizations, including divine will, bloodlines, and stigma. Using riveting stories about people including Martin Luther King Jr., baseball Satchel Paige, a single father and his toddler son, And Wilkerson herself, she shows the ways that the insidious undertow of caste is experienced every day. She documents how the Nazis studied the racial systems in America to plan their outcasting of the Jews. She discusses why the cruel logic of caste requires a bottom rung for those in the middle to measure themselves against. She writes about the surprising health cost of caste in depression and life expectancy and the effects of this hierarchy on our culture and politics. Finally, she points forward to ways America can move forward. So this is a picture of her. It's a beautiful picture of Isabel Wilkerson. She is the author. Very nice picture. She's a winner of the Pulitzer Prize. She also wrote The Warmth of Other Suns. I have that book. I haven't read it yet. Yes. So this was actually on Oprah's book club, if you see on here, from 2020. And this is 2025. So yeah, I'm that person that buys a book and don't always get right to it. But you know what? With everything going on, it's really important to buy the books. I was just seeing recently where there are people that were recently angry about, I guess, the new things that Kindle has rolled out. And I guess when you buy a copy of an ebook, you don't actually own the ebook. You own, well, I guess you're kind of renting it. Like, I guess it's like a license. And so people were saying some of their books had disappeared out their collection. And I think now moving forward, they're not going to be able to download the books to other devices, or I guess forward them to other things. So there were people that were kind of outraged because of how many books they have bought that have been ebooks, and they were buying the ebooks to save space in their homes. That way they would always have the book, and could have it on any device, just not on their Kindle, but on their laptops and iPads, and, you know, I guess share with friends or whatever. And it sounds like that's a change that is really impacting people. So I guess that's the good part about if you buy the actual book, is that you always have the book, you know, even if it becomes banned, even if something happens and it gets deleted off of your device, or, you know, becomes irretrievable. If you have the hard copy, you have it. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. But anyway, back to the book. Okay, so there were a couple of things I tabbed because the book is already starting off hot. I mean, it's a page turner. It's really good. Like, let me get you a tidbit off of here to make you want to read it and dive in. Okay, so here's a part right here. The vitals of history. As we fill out the pages of our medical past and our current complaints, what our bodies have been exposed to and what they have survived, it does us no good to pretend that certain ailments have not beset us. To deny the full truths of what brought us to this moment, few problems have ever been solved by ignoring them. Looking beneath the history of one's country is like learning that alcoholism or depression runs in one's family, or that suicide has occurred more often than might be usual. Or with the advances in medical genetics, discovering that one has inherited the markers of a BRCA mutation for breast cancer. You don't ball up in a corner with guilt or shame at these discoveries. You don't, if you are wise, forbid any mention of them. In fact, you do the opposite. You educate yourself. You talk to people who have been through it and to specialists who have researched it. You learn the consequences and obstacles, the options and treatment. You may pray over it and meditate over it. Then you take precautions to protect yourself and succeeding generations and work to ensure that these things, whatever they are, don't happen again. And then in chapter 2, she goes into the comparison of America. And she compares America to living in an old home and how if things are never fixed, if they're just patched up, if they're not tended to, then they only get worse over time. And I thought that was such an interesting and a great analogy, because if we allow a leak to continue to leak and we just put a bucket under it and we never tend to it, then at some point in time, the roof, the ceiling is gonna fall. The roof's gonna cave in. You're gonna get mold. You're gonna get sick. And she says here, the owner of an old house knows that whatever you are ignoring will never go away. Whatever is lurking will fester. And then she goes on, she talks more here and mentions, like other old houses, America has an unseen skeleton, a caste system that is as central to its operation as are the studs and joists that we cannot see in the physical buildings we call home. Caste is the infrastructure of our divisions. It is the architecture of human hierarchy. The subconscious code of instructions for maintaining, in our case, a 400-year-old social order. Looking at caste is like holding the country's X-ray up to the light. And then she mentions the 3 caste systems, one being the one that was in India, the other was Nazi Germany, and then, of course, the one we have here in the States that is invisible, that is unspoken, that is not really addressed, which I thought was very interesting. Because she says here, each version relied on stigmatizing those deemed inferior to justify the dehumanization necessary to keep the lowest ranked people at the bottom and to rationalize the protocols of enforcement. A caste system endures because it is often justified as divine will, originating from sacred texts or the presumed laws of nature, reinforced throughout the culture and passed down through generations. As we go through our daily lives, caste is the wordless usher in a darkened theater. Flashlight cast down the aisles, guiding us to our assigned seats for a performance. The hierarchy of caste is not about feelings or morality. It is about power. Which groups have it and which do not. It is about resources. Which caste is seen as worthy of them and which are not. Who gets to acquire and control them and who does not. And then she goes on and on and on. And what I found interesting in chapter 3 is she talks about Martin Luther King. And I never knew that he had taken a trip to Bombay. Is it Bombay? Bombay, India, in 1959 with his wife. And they stayed there for an entire year. And I guess everything that was going on there with their hierarchy is really what helped. Well, they planted the seeds for him to want to do something different here. And so, let me read the portion where he says it. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, yeah, him and his wife met with Gandhi because they wanted to visit him because of the nonviolent protests. Okay, here it goes. He had long dreamed of going to India, and they stayed an entire month at the invitation of the Prime Minister. He wanted to see for himself the place whose fight for freedom from British rule had inspired his fight for justice in America. He wanted to see the so-called untouchables, the lowest caste in the ancient Indian caste system, whom he had read of and had sympathy for, but who had still been left behind after India gained its independence the decade before. So what is interesting is that he's going there labeling them as the untouchables when he himself, they consider him to be the untouchable as well. And he had no clue. He didn't see himself as the same. He didn't see African Americans as the same. But after being there, he realized, wow, I myself am also a part of the untouchables. I am a part of the lowest caste, but in America. And what I found interesting is that the people in India have been following the trials of the American people, of the Black people, with the boycotting and everything. And he said he had no idea that they were following that closely of what was going on in the States. And so here, when they invite him to speak and he's talking and they introduce him and consider him one of the untouchables, to his surprise, he said, yes, I am an untouchable. And every Negro in the United States of America is an untouchable. In that moment, he realized that the land of the free had imposed a caste system not unlike the caste system of India, in that he had lived under that system all of his life. It was what lay beneath the forces he was fighting in America. What MLK recognized about his country that day had begun long before the ancestors of our ancestors had taken their breaths. More than a century and a half before the American Revolution, a human hierarchy had evolved on the contested soil of what would become the U.S. A concept of birthright, the temptation of entitled expansion that would set in motion the world's first democracy, and with it a ranking of human value and usage. An internalized ranking, unspoken, unnamed, unacknowledged by everyday citizens, even as they go about their lives, adhering to it and acting upon it subconsciously to this day. Now, I won't continue to read anything else out of it, but that should be enough to make you want to pick up the book. Like, when I tell you it is good, it is good. Pick it up, Caste. I can't wait to read more of it. It's just, I don't know, it's reading it is interesting because I can remember having a conversation with a young lady, and she was at my old job, and she was actually from Africa, and we had a similar dialogue about this and her desire to be referred as Kenyan, not African American, not Black, but Kenyan. And we were telling her about the unspoken rules, the invisibleness, the things that aren't said but are followed in corporate workspaces. And I can't even remember my friend and my coworker was telling her, when people see us, they don't see that you're different from us. All they see is three black women talking. They don't know that you're from Kenya. They only see your skin first. They don't know you have an accent. They don't know where you're from. And I remember her getting very upset because she didn't like that people thought that she was from America. And she felt insulted by it. But yeah, it's interesting because even though it may not be spoken in groups, I think behind closed doors it is spoken of. I can remember my grandparents saying things when I was a kid, and no, it was never talked about really outside of those four walls unless we were around other people we were comfortable with. But definitely I remember times where things were discussed behind those four walls, and it was because she wanted you to know, like, this is why we're being treated this way, or this is why all the neighbors are moving out the neighborhood. Like, this is why the police didn't show up when we called. So it was almost as if certain conversations were forced because of what was happening around the neighborhood. What was, how it was changing after they moved in there. It was people taking flight, white flight, out of the neighborhood. But anyway, yes, so really great book. Pick it up. And the other great book, this is the Black Book. And this was edited by Toni Morrison. May she rest in peace. This book I purchased also during the pandemic, and I started looking through it then, and it's a book of many different things. Like, it kind of flows from slavery to some things that was going on later on, but it is a compilation of history. And so actually it came out before the pandemic, many years before, but it did come out many years before that, but it was basically, I guess, just reprinted and put back out with a new cover and everything. Let me read you a blurb here in the back. So this is from Nicole Hannah-Jones. I remember first coming across this book as a child and understanding even then that I was holding in my hands a majestic miracle that managed to beautifully, painfully, and accurately convey both the tragedy and the triumph of 400 years of the Black experience. I am so grateful that a new generation will get the opportunity to feel what I felt. Now, Toni Morrison was the editor here. I think the writers that put it all together was Middleton A. Harris, with the assistance of Morris Levitt, Roger Furman, and Ernest Smith. So I think she was just the editor. Okay, then Cornel West, he says, an incredible testament to the strength, character, and endurance of a people, especially in these historic times. I can think of no better way to celebrate African American achievement than through a retrospective look at our history, painful and pleasurable, our shared experiences and our successes. This is a book no American, Black or white, can afford to ignore. And this one is by Gloria Steinem. A terrible era grew as humans spread out around the globe from our common ancestors in southern Africa. Race became a source of division and hierarchy instead of the minor adaptation to climate it truly was. The Black Book records some of the everyday suffering and wisdom that this false hierarchy has caused. There is not a member of the human family on earth who cannot learn from it. So I recommend checking this book out. It's taking me some time to read through it. I have not got all the way through it. There's some more people here. Ta-Nehisi Coates. Then, of course, Toni Morrison says, I am so pleased this book is alive again. I still think there is no other work that tells and visualizes a story of such misery with seriousness, humor, grace, and triumph. So this book here, let me read the little blurb here. It's the 17th century sketches of Africans as they appeared to European traders. 19th century slave auction notes. There's sheet music, songs. An 1856 article titled A Visit to the Slave Mother Who Killed Her Child. And so much more, honey. There is so much more. And they are right. There are certain parts in here where your heart aches. But there's also parts in here where you are proud. And there are parts in here where you are so thankful for your ancestors' resilience and not ever giving up. So let me read the preface here, written by Toni Morrison in 1973. I am the Black Book. Between my top and my bottom, my right and my left, I hold what I have seen, what I have done, and what I have thought. I am everything I have hated. Labor without harvest, death without honor, life without land or law. I am a Black woman holding a white child in her arms, singing to her own baby, lying unattended in the grass. I am all the ways I have failed. I am the Black slave owner, the buyer of Golden Peacock bleach cream and Dr. Palmer skin whitener, the self-hating player of the dozens. I am my own nigga joke. I am all the ways I survived. I am ton mush, hoe cake cooked on a hoe. I am 14 Black jockeys winning the Kentucky Derby. I am the creator of hundreds of patented inventions. I am Lafitte the Pirate and Maria Laveau. I am Bessie Smith winning a roller skating contest. I am quilts and ironwork, fine carpentry and lace. I am the wars I fought, the gold I mined, the horses I broke, the trails I blazed. I am all the things I have seen. The New York Caucasian newspaper, the scared back of Gordon the slave, the draft riots, darky tombs, and merchants distorting my face to sell thread, soap, shoe polish, coconut. And I am all the things I have ever loved. Wine, cool baptisms in silent water, dream books and number playing. I am the sound of my own voice singing. I am ring shouts and blues, ragtime and gospels. I am mojo, voodoo, and gold earrings too. I am not complete here. There is much more. But there is no more time and no more space, and I have journeys to take, ships to name and cruise. Toni Morrison. That sounds like poetry to me. And this is National Poetry Month, so I think I'm going to also do a video on that as well. So just to give you a peep of some of the things that are in here. This here is like showing in the newspaper, like the public sale of a Negro. And then, let's lighten the mood. This right here shows just some nice, finely dressed Black people saying, all the way from Africa to Georgia, I carried my sorrows. I made ragtime by Langston Hughes. Then they just show us, you know, music, dancing. Let's see what we got here. Carry me back to old Virginia. Again, us dressed beautifully. Let me skip ahead to some other things that you may want to see. This one talks about a lullaby called All the Pretty Little Horses. Hush a baby, don't you cry. Go to sleep, little baby. When you wake, you shall have cake and all the pretty little horses. This is a authentic slave lullaby. It reveals the bitter feelings of Negro mothers who had to watch over their white charges while neglecting their own children. Then it talks at the bottom about how Arkansas passed a law in 1860 prohibiting the employment of free colored people on watercraft navigating the rivers of that state, or else they'll get a heavy penalty. Here's an advertisement of some Sunlight soap. It then shows some of the different garments, some of the beautiful quilts that we made. It's a bedspread woven by slaves on one of the Lovelace plantations near LaGrange, Georgia. It's an original design. And then they show shoes and more things that we made by hand, dolls, baskets to make sure nothing fell out. That's why it curves. It shows Dr. Alonzo McLennan. He was the second Black appointed to the U.S. Naval Academy. When it was discovered that he was Black, he was forced to leave. I could not even tell he was Black. But as my grandmother said, we have every color in the rainbow. They touch on the Harlem Renaissance, the dancing, the good times. They have a beautiful picture here of Lena Horne. I think we all know her. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And some more songs. We have lots of songs here. But yeah, I think it's something that is worth a read. Take your time with it. I do little by little. It talks about voodoo. It talks about all kind of things. Anything with our culture is talking about it. But yeah, I'm not gonna hold you any longer. That is it. That is what I'm reading. That is what I'm into at the moment. There are more books to come. Comment below and let me know what you are reading right now. Also, what you are interested in. And oh, before I forget, I wanted to show you guys. This is from Rosemary Renee. I had purchased this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bookmark from her. And I've never seen a bookmark with a lady with locks before. So I had to pick it up when I saw it. And for a while, she was kind of out of order. They were out of stock. But yes, look at that beautiful bookmark by Rosemary Renee. Oops, trying to hold it. Check her out, support her. She is a woman-owned business. She sells these on her website, but also on Etsy, and it's Rosemary Renee. I think .com is what it was. I'll find it and link it under the video. And then also quickly, before I forget, it seems like it's the time, you know, I purchased this sweatshirt. It was with Actively Black. I think it was in February. It took a little while to come, but it came. And this is for Cecil Williams, 1956. He has a museum in South Carolina. And so Actively Black teamed up with him to make this sweatshirt, and a portion of the funds goes to the museum to help it stay operating. And I didn't know who Cecil Williams was, but he is best known for his photography, documenting the civil rights movement in South Carolina. He began his career at an early age. And so he has a civil rights museum with all the different history in there. And it's in Orangeburg, South Carolina. So if you are ever in Orangeburg, South Carolina, show support, drop in to Cecil Williams Museum. I think it is so important that we continue to support those things, because as you can see, there is right now attacks being made on the Smithsonian African American Museum, where people are wanting to come in and change the history and take things away that are in there. I've heard mentions of, you know, something about Harriet Tubman stuff being removed or something like that. So yeah, you want to, if you can, visit those museums, donate, support if you can. I'm sure his is this is owned by him. You definitely want to make sure that you are telling others about it, because I didn't even know about it until Actively Black put me on. But I wanted to support, and I wanted to make sure that I tell others and spread the word, so they will know also. He wasn't somebody I learned about, but I am learning about him now. So yes, if you like this video, click the like button, subscribe. I'm sorry I was a little bit long-winded, but I wanted to add those two things in because they are Black businesses, and I think it's just so important to spread the word any way we can to help support people. And also Actively Black made this is a great quality sweatshirt, so support them as well. I've bought many items from them and they have all lasted, so they are great quality and they're just as good as Nike. So anyway, that is it for this video. Sorry it was so long. I did not mean to be 38 minutes. Enjoy your Sunday. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Take care. Wishing you nothing but inner peace, positivity, and empowerment. Take care. Bye-bye.